If only I was a good singer.
Hey guys, how's it going?
I think it's working.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What are we singing?
No, we're not. That's the most important thing, that we're not singing.
Yay! It's episode 94 of We Were Gamers, a podcast. I think I got it right, the number. I don't know. Maybe.
No research.
Good enough.
Yeah! We had a goal to get things under control by episode 100, and I have to say, both, it counts for more than two people, right? No.
No, but whatever.
Yeah. Everyone that was here sounded really good, despite the fact that we had to kind of record it in a wacky way. Friends, I was held hostage by a cable.
Hostage?
Again?
Yeah, I root traced the problem from last episode, which people were unaware of. And it came down to a USB mini cable that apparently only decided to do power but not transfer data.
That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. They wanted to save that 1.5 pennies on copper,
Yeah,
or it was broken. I don't know which.
They didn't. I wonder if it's one of those, like, this used to be the power cable for, like, some really old thing, and someone was just like, we'll just use this in our thing. It's fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, man.
You never know, but we're here. Everyone hears our wonderful voices straight up this time with little effort. Hello, I'm Andrew. JJ's with me, as always.
Yay.
And our new partner in crime, Michael's here as well.
Hey guys.
How's everybody doing? I know we have we picked a topic this episode. It's going to be two kind of topical episodes in a row. But we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to see how everybody's doing. What have you guys been up to?
Not a lot to tell. Kind of more of the same.
So he's still stuck in RPG land. Mired.
Oh yeah.
Mired. JJ?
Yeah, I definitely have been playing some RPGs. I've been going through some struggles in Civ also. I won a game, which is good. You know, science victory, yay. Went to the Mars. I don't really think you say the Mars, but whatever.
Can you? I think you can.
Maybe. I didn't go to the God of War. I went to the planet, I guess, to be clear. And I started over another game as Robert the Bruce of Scotland. And I lost very, very quickly.
Oh, no. What settings do you have this? I very often do not lose games of Civ, but I don't play on the hardest.
Well, so I wasn't playing on the hardest. I don't remember if I had it set to 4 or 5, which is like Prince or whatever. But it was one of those cases where, like, I got boxed in really quick and there was nowhere for me to expand to. I didn't have enough sailing tech to sail across the ocean and start somewhere else. And, like, I had 2.5 cities, kind of, and all of my opponents on my continent had, like, 4+, and I wasn't going to really be able to do anything for, like, thousands of years, basically. You could see the slow decline of Scotland coming on as the Roman legions marched over the hills, and I was like, this is going to end bad, and that was the end of that run.
Walk away, right?
Yeah, that's more or less what I did. So, yeah, it's kind of been a little up and down with Civ recently.
As our continuing Hearthstone expert, have you tried the new Wild format?
Yeah, so they have, in their attempt and promise to do more event-type things, they're calling it the Wild Fest. They're bringing Wild back to the arena for some unspecified period of time, and they are going to have, at some point during this period of time... Actually, I think they may have actually said how long it was going to go, and I just don't know. But it started recently, like the last day or so, and they're going to have a tavern brawl in the arena format that is constructed. So you build a constructed deck, you play until you get up to 12 wins, and you get the same arena-type rewards. Not like that crazy one they did in the past where it was like, pay 1,000 gold and get a chance to get way more than you need. But In reality, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, in reality, you're just wasting 1,000 gold. Now, if memory serves me correctly, one of the biggest complaints about the arena at a certain point was that it was wild and that there was no way to control for good players the picks and winning games. So they removed wild from the arena. How did they justify the rollback here?
So it's more like, oh, this is a special event for a limited period of time. All previous decks have been retired, and you get to start over brand new. Everyone drafting wild decks with the same kind of adjustments in place. They've done these kind of like individual bands of cards and stuff over time where they like adjust the offering rates of certain cards that they deem to be problematic or whatever. And this is kind of just like, oh, hey, here's a fun event where we're going to do this for this period of time. And then afterwards, it'll go back to the other way. I don't know that they have justified it really at all. In typical Blizzard fashion, they kind of don't communicate that kind of granular detail. Mm-hmm. But people seem to be happy that there's at least something different in the arena format. And, you know, they're showing some more spotlight on Wild, which I think is an interesting constructed format for sure. If you people actually played it seriously, which a lot of people don't.
I think what we need more of from Blizzard is not the lack of communication, but something else they've got going on. Should we have more Blizzard puppy rumbles?
What?
I'm sorry, what?
Blizzard announced today over on the Overwatch channel, I think it was 5 Eastern, so it was this afternoon maybe? Inspired by the Puppy Bowl, they were doing a charity puppy rumble. Everybody was dressed up as Overwatch characters, and
They're dressing the dogs up as Overwatch characters?
Yeah, cosplay dogs.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
This does not interest me, but I'm sure that some people are very excited by this news.
No? I have another company I want to ask a question about. Let's name Atari games for like 25 minutes. Does that sound fun? No?
Does Atari Games have anything worth talking about for 25 minutes?
No, you know what? They probably don't. You know what they do have worth talking about?
Okay.
Cryptocurrency.
Oh boy.
They got into the cryptocurrency game?
Atari will be launching Atari Coin? Atari Token? I think it's called Atari Token.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think launching a cryptocurrency is the same thing as saying, like, we're out of ideas, someone give us money.
They're not the most odd company to have tackled this. I think Kodak recently also, the film company.
Yeah.
Also
but then
recently was like, hey, we're going to do coins too. What's the point of that?
I think they walked it back because people were like, this seems like a scam. So, I don't know. Michael, you were asking what the point is. The point is to get people who don't understand money to invest money in your company because the blockchain is hot.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, you're tying into the popularity recently of Bitcoin and then going, oh, look, we have a user base of people that use our alternative coin, and this coin is worth so much of a Bitcoin, and so therefore our thing is worth money because people are trading it on an exchange, right? That's how markets work.
They've taken the idea of like your Nintendo dollar or your Xbox coins, the like, oh, you have to spend $20 and put it into our system, and then your money is locked away on the Xbox. Atari said, well, why don't we just make the money that we can buy stuff with on our new upcoming system real money?
Yeah, seems not great. The part where they transform it into a coin is obviously the most skeptical part. But I think them coming at it from a place of like, hey, we're Atari, remember Pac-Man? Now buy a Bitcoin. It's like, why?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think the less said about cryptocurrency in general, the better.
Okay, so we can get back to talking about Atari games instead.
Oh, wait, there are none of those either. Oh, no.
The real joke is when you can only spend the Atari tokens at the Atari game store.
Ooh.
Yeah. And like, the idea of a blockchain, this thing that has like this immutable transaction register that says who owns what and stuff all the time forever is actually like a good idea. But having it married to this like form of digital currency stuff is not useful. If it like, say, held the rights to the games that you bought everywhere, right? And then in theory, your game is locked to this register that says you own it. And if you choose to sell that game on the register, you could do that, right? Like these ideas aren't bad ideas. The problem is that no one is going to be able to implement them.
Well, and also
at the scale they need right now, right?
No game company wants you to own something in perpetuity, right?
Right, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, some of the games we play and we think we own on Steam and all that, we've just paid for licenses.
Absolutely. I would say the vast majority of them.
Yep.
If not actually all of them.
So what did you pick up from the sale, JJ?
Actually, nothing. During the course of the sale, I did not buy anything.
Yeah, you got your Cold Steel 2 already.
Yeah, that came out literally the day before the sale, and continued its launch discount throughout the sale. And then I think
so you didn't lose anything by it. So
yeah, I've already sold a bunch of cards from that game. I got $1.40.
Oh, nice. I'm sure with it being brand new, the card price is still pretty good.
Yeah, like 30 cents. That's pretty good usually.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of forgetting about cryptocurrencies because they're stupid, I know that we've been waiting too long to get to this, and I know that it's what I remember from this past weekend, despite the fact that I'm old and have the memory of a small child these days. Who else saw Black Panther?
I think hands are up all around.
I think I also did.
Yeah?
I also did.
Yeah, hey, there's a fourth hand.
Hey, sorry, I heard you guys might be talking about this today, so I thought I'd swing by and just, try and nerd check anyone who wants to talk about the movie.
That's Ken. That's Ken, you guys.
That's what I do. I go to I go to other podcasts and I'm like, oh, well, let me nerd check you before you can talk.
That's Ken.
I need a nerd splain. I'm sorry.
We haven't had you on in a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah. We were really concerned. I think maybe "we" is too strong a word. But I was really concerned that when we got about halfway into this movie, there was going to be the thing that we say, and then somebody out on the internet was going to say, but in comic number 52 from 1988.
There's lots of stuff that happens in the movie, but it's a lot of nerds. I'd say the general consensus for stuff is like, you know what? The movie universe is a different universe. We accept things are different, and as long as you're getting to the heart of the characters, you're fine. And I think this movie did just that. It got to the heart of the characters, and so even if like, oh, that's not how this character started, or that's how this happened, you're still good because the essence of what you always want to get to, the root of the character, was there.
All right, I'm going to do my due diligence here. Spoiler warning.
Yeah, I think there's too much good stuff in this movie not to talk about some of the awesome parts and some of the good twists.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no dancing.
Wait, no dancing on the podcast? What do you mean? Like, I know there's no singing on the podcast. Like, what do you mean no dancing? Like, I need to know about these. I haven't been here in a while.
Wait, how long have you been here? The singing thing happened before you walked in here. How did this... You guys? I think he's put one of those little gel listening devices on my desk.
Yeah, like I guess we could just start the discussion there. That all of the technology in this movie was so rad.
It was
you guys.
Just like fanboying left and right.
It's the idea that the technology is so advanced that even like if Tony Stark was to get a hold of this, like, wait, I don't fully understand this yet, and I hope that I'm looking forward to that moment in the stories where like, oh wait, and I wish there would have been a little bit of it, but they didn't have time for it in Civil War. But Tony should have been like, hey, that suit's pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
that never came up. Like, he's like, you got a suit of armor. I have a suit of armor. Why aren't we talking about this?
Well, and how does Tony not notice, like, oh, your suit's made out entirely of vibranium?
Yeah. Like,
and like, is
he's
paper thin.
He's so pissed off. Yeah.
Unless his suit can't even detect, like, the type of metal it is because it's so foreign, he can't even be like, oh, wait, I don't know. I mean, vibranium in this universe is to a certain degree pretty rare. Like the first time we heard about it was in Age of Ultron.
Space metal.
So, yeah.
Wait,
I mean,
no, vibranium's not that rare, right?
It's pretty rare.
Not after this movie.
But it's not that Ultron's the first time we heard. Oh, oh boy, I almost walked onto adamantium and vibranium being.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, adamantium is an alloy, so it has vibranium.
It has vibranium. I'm not crazy.
Right.
I knew this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said they were the same thing almost. I'm like, well,
No.
I pushed up my glasses and then I said, well, actually,
And double actually, Wolverine has never shown up in the MCU, so it's completely irrelevant.
He can now.
Good God. I just watched Logan recently, and that's like stuck in my craw. And I really like that movie a lot, but I forget that it's not MCU.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's so good. You're like, oh, they did a quality movie. This must be Marvel behind it.
Nope.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Logan is really great, but we're not here to talk about Logan. We're here to talk about
No,
Black
we're not.
Panther.
Okay, so they have a bunch of tech, and they're like, LOL, tech works because vibranium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the properties of vibranium, the idea that it can absorb energy and also redirect it. There's so many like ideas in vibranium. They're like, okay, it's a better like MacGuffin than they've had in a long time. Like other than just like, oh yeah, well you take this pokey stick and it pokes through the shield because it's the same pokey stick. Like what? Like that their MacGuffins in the past. Like this is one that at least I'll accept a little bit more.
Why does it glow?
That's because the energy it absorbs. Vibranium absorbs all energy to a degree. That's why, like when Thor's hammer hits Captain America's shield, Captain America can still stand behind it because it absorbs a certain amount of energy and then disperses it equally. Trying to think of the right verbiage.
So Captain America's shield should create shockwaves that killed everybody around him.
If you look at actually, that's what like in Avengers 1, Thor hits his shield. And it causes a massive like shockwave out and like destroys all the trees, but Cap's still safe because he's Cap and Thor's a god and so on and so forth. If there's animals nearby, they were probably killed. Like Thor is a mass murdering like genocidist to animals. Maybe
No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Okay, so speaking of like collateral damage, did anybody else notice there was significantly less of it, or that it was much more contained to bad guys or CIA agents or Wakandans this time?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, guys. Go ahead. I'm jumping in every time I can. Sorry.
I like that they toned it down after the huge emphasis in Civil War on look at the fallout from everything that we do. It fit the tone of the movie better. That.
Well, and still ignoring it completely in Civil War. Well, we got to catch Bucky, so we're going to level half of Berlin.
Sure.
Yeah, you can definitely see they were like, we're going to try and limit all of our destruction this time because we're actually trying to be heroic here instead of being mass murderers.
But right, other than the car chase and then the war in Wakanda, there's really no collateral damage outside of a bunch of criminals in a club.
No, I mean the criminals kill some people in the museum, like straight up. There's there, but then it's bad guys doing it. So
it's bad guys doing it. It's not like the huge superhero fight.
Yeah,
Right,
it's on a
yeah.
small scale. Like essentially they committed an armed robbery in a museum, which, while not a good thing, is certainly on a scale that police could be capable of handling.
Yeah, that's every heist
Or
movie.
impetus for people getting involved that are superheroes as well is like, hey, these people killed people versus Iron Man leveled a city block and we don't really care.
yeah.
But JJ, by the way,
Yes.
did you recognize in the car chase that you've been there before?
I mean, that it was in Korea.
No, my friend, you and I and my wonderful wife walked under the bridge that car chase takes place.
Oh, was that in Busan?
That's the bridge in Busan.
It was in Busan? Oh, I did not catch
Uh-huh.
that. No, I did not. Awesome.
Yeah, we got a little bit lost in the middle of the night and decided to wander through some old fish markets where they were definitely playing illicit mahjong, 100%.
Yeah.
You could see them through the window.
Nice.
And underneath, we were walking underneath this wonderful bridge, and we're like, "Wow, it would be great to walk over that bridge," but we could never find that entrance.
Yeah, we felt bad about that at the time, I recall.
More bad, I think, that we walked for hours.
Yeah. We were very tired.
Right on. Well, other than the let's see. So the fights outside of Wakanda, do we think good, bad, indifferent? Like
In regards to like,
Claw, do we believe Claw and like?
Well, I don't.
like I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that there's anything in Claw's story that was proven to be untruthful. Right? He stole some vibranium in the past from Wakanda. They've been trying to get it back. He was in hiding, and then unclear to me why exactly he decided to surface again. And
That's maybe what I mean more readily by believable, right? Like
yeah,
we had the Civil War, and we know that the previous king has passed away before this movie starts, and like there's a little bit of a time jump here where he passes away, and then after the beginning of the movie, or it's
been
just
a week.
Yeah, it's been a week or so.
They say a week because they in the newscast that T'Challa is watching before they take down the smugglers. The newscast says it's been 1 week since the passing of King T'Chaka. And
oh, okay.
so that they do timestamp it there, so you have a good like verifiable like okay, it's been this much time. So like in that much time, they've already like imprisoned Zemo, and so like there's certain things that have been put in place. So like okay, that's where we are. We're a week after Winter Soldier.
So did it lay right with everybody else?
Civil War.
Did it lay right with everybody else then that in the week since T'Chaka has died, and we've also had Civil War, then mysteriously 30 years later, now Claw has shown back up, and Killmonger is also with him at exactly the right moment to be able to rob a bank with him for no reason, and then set up him to get captured by Black Panther, and then also wait for him to escape, then retrieve him, then kill him again, and bring him to Wakanda.
I mean, look, if you want to like break apart the premise of every movie at some level, you can get to stuff that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know that I have a defense on the scriptwriter's behalf here, but they're definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I would say to me it makes certain sense because essentially last time we saw Ulysses Claw he was still trying to deal the stolen vibranium, and so it's like at this point he's lost an arm. He's trying to he's making waves again. Like before he's trying to stay under the radar. Now he's like, I lost my arm and I've replaced it, but like I need to pay for all this stuff. I need to make money. Mm-hmm. Like so it's like if I have to do a few jobs that'll put me back on the radar, I need money that badly. I'll do it. Like. There's some comments between him and Killmonger, like, I know you're good for the money because he does enough smuggling, but you're like, okay, if he's at the point where he's able to fund a new arm, he might be okay. I just went in the red for this. Let's do a couple jobs. Vibranium's worth a buttload of money. Let's find what I can find. But also, you have to think that Eric Killmonger essentially pushed him to the edge at that point because he's like, hey, I know where Vibranium is, because he's trying to flush out Claw so that his end game of getting back to Wakanda, I mean, we've talked about spoilers already, so good luck, folks. But his end game of getting back to Wakanda, he's part of his chip to get in too.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, how do I flush Claw out? Oh, I tell him I know where vibranium is, and then with that, he's able to put more of his plan in motion. Very similar to Zemo, actually, where it's like, oh, I do X, Y, and Z to like lay seeds, and then that'll help further my goal in the end game.
One of my very few questions in the movie, though, is why not just kill? And anybody can chime in on this one, but why rob the museum with Claw if he had already found Claw and then told him where why not just kill Claw and take him to Wakanda?
If I had to jump in, I'd say probably because by making a public theft of vibranium, it pulls T'Challa out of Wakanda, so it puts him off his game. He's like, he wants to see him see his moves in person, so he knows what to be prepared for.
I was going to say, he uses the fact that they failed to catch Claw in South Korea as leverage, right? I bagged the guy who your king couldn't catch. I'm going to challenge for the throne now.
You know what? I didn't put weight on that before when I thought about it, but then when they talk about how he's the CIA operative and knows how to take people down, then maybe that makes a lot of sense, is use Claw to rile up the people inside first. Got it.
Yeah, it was definitely that was exactly what I was thinking, Michael. It's like that gives him, oh, look, I have legitimacy here because I could do the thing you guys couldn't.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that I am Wakandan and I have, I have so many rights, but also here's the man who you couldn't take down. Here's the most wanted man in Wakanda.
Yeah.
It's interesting they had a word for those people, the war dogs.
Oh, the spies and
they never really mentioned, like, they just said it. They're like war dogs.
Yeah.
No. But,
I find this is a weird, like, there's two little things that I bumped up to later on that are completely, like, not really problems, just little things like, if at one point Ulysses Claw, they had him enough to brand him, but he got away even after that, like, it's like, oh, he stole our stuff, and then we branded him, and then he got away again, like, you guys didn't really keep a hold of him, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? I mean, because it wasn't like he was injured while stealing the Vibranium, at some point they captured him and branded him. The other question, too, that's kind of up in the air is, like, when did T'Challa first take the heart-shaped herb? Because as of Civil War, his father passes, and he's now in the suit running around superpowered. And he had it at least before the movie started because they have to take it away from him at the ceremony when he first fights to maintain his mantle. Yep.
Yeah.
So at some point, he had taken the heart-shaped herb. I'm like, and I know in Civil War, some people in my group of friends had questioned, like, King T'Chaka doesn't look like he's in prime. He's a little, on in his years and a little heavier than you would expect a warrior king to be. And I'm like, okay, maybe in this story, T'Challa had already taken the heart-shaped herb and taken steps to become the Black Panther, and that's why T'Chaka had, gotten out of shape.
Right.
But these are just random nerd questions. These bear no question on the movie. It's still phenomenal. So
it seemed pretty clear that he had been the Black Panther already.
Yeah. Although the bringing up the heart-shaped herb brings up a question that I had, which is T'Challa the last Black Panther?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you're referring to the fact that they burned the heart-shaped herb. I would imagine that there's still roots in the ground. They're still bringing it back because I think at some point we might see Shuri take up the mantle like she does in the comics. Like I can see it somewhere down the road where we have Phase 19 and like, okay, what are we gonna do to shake things up now? Well, here's Shuri and she's gonna take up the mantle.
Yeah, you never know. I think they definitely want you to think like, oh, this is the end of the line or whatever. But of course, exactly like Ken says, they can always. They had like 2 left, and someone grew those and started it up again.
Nothing's ever dead.
Much like T'Challa being thrown off of a gigantic cliff and recovered by a fisherman and stacked in the snow.
Yeah,
he's not dead.
Yeah. That's the thing that I was always like, that I'm like, oh, that's how they play it. Because he's not dead. I'm like, okay, so is he just going to, like, are we going to cut back to him waking up out of the waterfall and crawling out? Like, how do we have that presented to us? I'm like, oh, I was surprised the way they presented it to us. It's just a matter of, like, where is he going to pop back up? Because I know he's not done.
Yeah, I like that tie-in.
I actually think that's an interesting point for people who are, like, very sensitive to spoilers in general. Like, hey, you knew he wasn't dead here. The ride of getting there, even though you already knew the end point, was very interesting still, right?
It kind of has to be in comics these days, right?
Yeah.
Because the names are so important in terms of the if you want to be crass about it, the amount of money they make.
Oh, totally.
Steve Rogers can get shot and killed in front of everybody. And Bucky Barnes and the Punisher and everybody else can become Captain America for a year. But everybody's buying that year's worth of comics, waiting to find out how Steve Rogers comes back.
Yes,
right.
Undoubtedly.
So, but I think that the storylines of bringing him back and the richness of Wakanda in general, like bringing in that other tribe, and that they're going to be good for something later, but honestly, at the beginning of the movie, I'm thinking, oh, maybe Killmonger works his way in with that tribe that, it feels like outcasts, or they left enough of Wakanda out there for you to appreciate while also keeping it mysterious. Did everybody think I had a really great impression of how rich and diverse and well created the actual Hermit Kingdom is? What your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to see more of it. They show that wide shot of the mountain, and you see this whole city just built into the side of it, and you only really see the king's chamber. I wanted to see more of the city because it looked like it had been thought out.
Yeah, there was a lot of really interesting like environmental stuff where you sort of see the marketplace. You know, they would do a fly cam or a shot of like, you know, from on high of them walking through the marketplace, and you're like, this place is so different, right? The roads are paved differently. The street is different. People are walking around in buildings that look like a lot more earthy than you generally see. It was a really interesting way to sort of show how they had developed on their own completely insularly. Insularly?
Sure.
Sounds about right. There's one thing I was actually talking with a friend about, is like, I was surprised, considering they went for more of a Afrofuturism, that there wasn't more of a integration with the environment. Like, on some buildings you saw some foliage, but it wasn't what I would expect. But then alternatively, people have to see it and view it as at least some interpretation of what they view as Africa. So if you go too futuristic, they're like, oh, that they wouldn't, there'd be a disconnect, I would think. And so it's like they merge the two just enough, so it's like you can still feel like, oh, this is a version of Africa I can recognize, as well as a technologically advanced society too.
I was so well thought out though, because that's there with the fifth tribe, Mboku's tribe.
Yeah,
that's there, right? They built into the hillside. They're vegetarian. They don't. It seems like maybe they do have technology, because maybe their little clubs were shooting laser beams at the end. It happened really fast.
I didn't see any of that tribe have like laser weapons. I saw like even the spears for the Doromilage, they had like tasers and stuff on theirs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it didn't look like they had like eschewed technology completely, but they were definitely more of the like what you were talking about, some sort of natural version of Africa, where, you know, you think it's some sort of unspoiled thing, but at the same time, the other four tribes embrace the technology that comes to them, and while they develop their city, and you look at it and you say looks very purely African, they definitely have created a different look for the rest of the society, and that built into the story where he comes out and he says, you know, you're being led by a child, and
yeah,
you know, during the first challenge, they challenge the theory that these other four tribes are losing their way with technology.
Yeah. There's also one thing that I thought about later on, and I wanted to bring up. I thought it felt to me that Mboko and the fifth tribe, when they first appear, they're almost doing a haka, which is like more of a Samoan type battle cry. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting. I wonder if that was like one of their intentions, or if I'm just seeing that because because of other recent pop culture things, I'm more familiar with the haka than other things in African culture.
I believe that they were very clearly trying to show them as the mountain silverback.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
culture.
interpret it as like a monkey's call, or like a gorilla kind of making a vocalization there.
Yeah, and they kept coming back to that.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, the main character, Mboko, is actually from the comics, but he's known as the Man-Ape, which is... a lot of people were happy they didn't just call him that, because there's a lot of problems there. But
yeah,
that's what his tribe is known for. And so, I mean, I saw that, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just the cross-pollination of ideas.
I think that there's a lot of that war dance style. Did we all buy into that this place could exist unfettered, unspoiled? Did it seem right in a way, or did it seem too futurist or too idealistic? It seemed good to me.
I've seen it before in other mediums too, that they use like holograms to essentially appear like, oh no, that's an impassable mountain range. So like that's how they keep out certain aerial confrontations, and then like they have an entire tribe dedicated to just monitoring the border and keeping that safe. So it's reasonable that they could have stayed with their advanced technology, stayed out of people's radar.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they push technology so far in some of the other aspects of what they're doing that being able to cloak a city doesn't seem far-fetched in comparison.
Yeah, I agree with that part of it.
More than the technological cloak, and something that we'll get to maybe in a minute when we talk about their relationship to the United States, and particularly like Oakland in the 90s and all that, I think I buy it, collectively feel like when you saw the film, though, yeah, their technology shielded them, but they developed insularly in this way that more than just blocking the world from viewing them, they blocked themselves from viewing the world. Is that reasonable with that much technology that you would believe, like, hey, we can spy on everybody all over the planet and they'll never know that we were here this entire time, and we don't even look outward, we only look inward?
I mean, you're sort of required to buy that notion if you want to accept the idea that this movie is how it is. I don't, like, it's a good question, and, like, in reality, I don't think something like that could work. But we're kind of required to accept it here. Otherwise, a lot of this story kind of falls apart, right?
But, and the thing is, too, this story, if this was like Black Panther 2 and that was the story, it'd be more problematic. But from the get-go, they talk about, like, no, we've been cut off for too long, and they discuss a lot of ideas. Obviously, what we're dealing with right now is, like, do we take in refugees because then their problems become ours? Do we help put out a helpful hand to try and help others, and then possibly gain more enemies that way? And they know they already have enemies on the outside, but they've minimized that as much as they can by being cut off. So it's like that is that balance they're trying to readjust for with this new king.
Yeah, and I think too that they do a good job of setting it up with the story told at the beginning that this is culturally how they've always been, and they keep coming back over and over throughout the movie to this is our culture. This is how we have always done things.
I really like that point, Michael, because that's the journey that T'Challa goes on, at least, is I'm trying to be my father, the king, and what he did was this, right? And that's the beginning of the movie where he's, we're going to go get Claw, but at the same time, we got to protect Wakanda, and we can't, make everybody's problems our own, and I'm still the old guard way of thinking at the beginning, and it kind of evolves. He evolves in a way almost a different versions of Killmonger's thinking, right? Like,
I was going to say, the fact that what Killmonger says and does is, like, kind of almost, like, you almost sort of feel that maybe he's right in some aspects. Like, it is part of what makes Killmonger good in the film, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, he's obviously way off, the far end of what they probably should be doing. But the fact that you're like, actually, he kind of has some good ideas here is what makes the whole thing work, I think.
Yeah, they wind up fighting the same fight.
Yeah, there's a line that's repeated throughout the film multiple times, and it's one thing. It's how the Wakandans greet one another, like in a formal manner. They say, "Who are you?" And that's the message through the entire movie of T'Challa has to ask himself, who is he as a king? Who is he as himself? When they're trying to throw out Killmonger from the council, they finally say, like, who are you? And then he's like, I'm the son of Njobu. And he's like, this is who I am. And it's everyone trying to constantly identify who they are and what their plan is. I'm trying to think of the right wording here, but, like, they have to self-identify constantly to be like, no, this is who I am and this is what my intentions are. And then they're constantly questioning themselves too. It's even the last line of the film, if you don't count the stingers.
Oh, come on. How are people still leaving?
Good. I'm glad we got to this, because this is one of my two gripes.
Okay, so no one in the theater that I was in got up before the first one. And then after the first one, like, maybe a third or so, or maybe closer to half of the people left.
No, a third of my theaters was up and out of their seats heading for the door as soon as the credits started.
Maybe people just really don't care about the overall, like, meta story of the MCU. I think it's okay.
I've seen this movie twice now, and both times people got up to leave. The first time, Ebony stopped me from saying, I started to say something, and the second time, Ebony wasn't there to stop me, so I literally shouted at these people, 17 movies in, and you don't know that you should stay past, like, through the credits. And, like, one was an opening night crew. Like, if you're there opening night, aren't you at least invested enough to think, maybe I should stay through the end? I don't know. Like, and I get, like, if they stayed only through the first stinger, but, like, okay, staying through the second one, that seems like common knowledge to me now, but at least stay through the first one. Heavens.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Just tell me if I'm too far out on the branch. Yeah, this is probably true for Civil War. I'm going to guess that Black Panther brought in an audience that wasn't used to Marvel movies and didn't see themselves represented.
So I was gonna concede
ding,
that
we
same
have a winner.
thing. Yep.
They may not have seen 17 movies of white people beating the shit out of other white people.
You know the funny thing? In both my theaters, it was white people leaving.
I would say that the theater I saw it in also was majority white, but people just left when they felt like leaving. I don't know. I will say that maybe the second stinger did not really do that much for me because I kind of had forgotten about a lot of the events of Civil War. Actually, I will say. And I was like, "Oh yeah, who is that again?"
Well, Shuri,
yeah.
Shuri cracks that joke about it when they bring
Right.
in
He's
the
got to
age.
fix this second white boy. Yeah.
Another broken white boy? And when he said that, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Bucky's in an ice chest somewhere.
Yeah. I'm glad to see he's not in an ice chest anymore.
Yeah.
Man, there's just so much to talk about in this movie. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up or something like that. But I know we're almost out of time for tonight.
God, it was so good.
Overall impressions, right? Everybody thinks this is the best one in years.
Yeah, they move the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Easily the best one in years. I don't know if I like it more. I don't know if it is my personal favorite one, but if it's not number one, it's number two. Like it's way up there.
You know what my final thought on it is for this podcast is, I had a feeling sitting in the first Iron Man movie that I was like, finally, we're going to get superhero movies that we deserve.
Yeah.
And over that course of like you said, 17 movies, my feelings have tailed off into, why are there 3 hovercrafts crashing into DC and this guy's hanging on, and we've gotten so much into the spectacle of it that, yeah, there have been nice little refreshes along the way with Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok standing out as something to really relieve people's tensions.
Guardians 2.5, you mean?
Yeah, it's a good movie. But I got the same feeling leaving Black Panther that I did leaving the first Iron Man, which was like, this is like a nice, refreshed version of a new way to think about superheroes where they really struggle more than Steve Rogers struggle. My internal strife, and I gotta save my boyfriend all the time.
I'm a man out of time.
Yeah, but no, he's struggling with we have a broken world around us and we need to fix it, and I don't know how. Yeah. And that's really refreshing. Anyway,
I would say that I agree on all counts. It felt like they really nailed it this time in a way that they haven't been for a long time.
All right. So if people want to send props to Ryan Coogler, I don't know him personally, but they could send them to us, and I can mail them to him at what?
That's going to be podcast@weweregamers.com, the email address. There's also a Facebook page, We Were Gamers, a Twitter account, and an Instagram, both of which are @WeWereGamers. Hit us up on there. Follow the podcast on the places that let you do that, the social medias and whatnot, and leave us those hot reviews.
JJ, I want to know on your feelings on all the movies before this, now that you've seen it.
Meh.